would now like to invite Dr. Adam Saud, Dean of Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences of Bahria University. Sir, you are requested to please come forward and share your analysis with us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Excellency, eminent speakers, dear students particularly who have come all the way. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. We have heard three very good speeches where they spoke about, in details, about the constitutional reforms in Kazakhstan, and Ambassador Khalid Mahmood, he has talked about economic development, regional integration, and the growth in the region as well. So I'll start with there's a saying that change is an unchangeable law of the nature. So change is inevitable. It has to come. All the laws, all the constitutions, everything is bound to change with the passage of time. And this flexibility gives a room for societies and nations to adapt the new realities. That is what Kazakhstan has learned at a very crucial period of time, and they have brought changes into their political and constitutional system. And one thing that is also important as a student of political science and international politics, we say that history and events actually, they are the learning experiences for the nations. And the good nations who actually want to develop, to have a standing at regional and international committee, they learn out of those lessons, they learn out of those development, and they make future strategies. That is what Kazakhstan has done very recently. Ambassador Mahmood has highlighted that Kazakhstan is a landlocked country. In fact, it's the largest landlocked country in the world. But we have seen that this challenge was transformed into an opportunity by the leadership of Kazakhstan. Being a sandwich between the two bigs, China and Russia, they have managed both very well, I would say. And over the period of time, we have seen that the massive economic development in Kazakhstan is not only a role model for the developing country, for the regional countries, but for whole developing countries in the world. It's a role model. Because we have seen with a very limited time period, they have achieved the status of upper middle income country, and they got the non-permanent membership of United Nations Security Council back in 2015. So again, one of the achievements on the part of foreign policy of Kazakhstan. And this year in January 2022, there was political instability in Kazakhstan. There were groups without any leadership, and there was a kind of chaos over there. But the leadership, it managed it very wisely. And again, that political crisis actually, that instability actually, again provided an opportunity to Kazakhstan to chart out the future strategy. They have learned very well that super presidentialism is not going to work anymore now. We have to bring changes according to the demands of the people. So that is why we see that this constitution that has been declared as the second republic of Kazakhstan because of the 1/3 amendment that have been done. Actually, it has tried to create a balance between presidential office and the parliament. We know that parliament, usually they are directly elected by the people, and they have close contact because of the representatives. They have, they are intensively engaged with their constituencies. Therefore, a kind of balance has been created under this constitution. The president, actually, he came into power in 2019. It's very recent now, but over the period of time, it's been only 3 years. We have seen that he has brought certain fundamental changes. And the two important things which he stresses are consistent democratization and stability and manageability of the state. So, consistent democratization. Now, again, there's a misconception. I don't want to give details about the Western concept of democratization. Democracy is democracy. Every state has its own parameters, values, because political systems are constituted onto the socio-economic and cultural realities of that particular land. So democratization does not mean the Western concept of democratization. So consistent democratization is one concept. And under this concept, what amendments or changes he has brought into the Constitution, I just need to, mention few. Empowerment of the Parliament. Like, the previous speaker has already explained that it's now directly elected and, proportional representation has been mixed up with the direct election of the deputies in the Majlis. Second is the reduction of the presidential powers. Over the period of time, Kazakhstan had been under criticism, particularly by the West due to this hyper-presidentialism or super-presidentialism. But, now they have reformed it. Second important thing is strengthening of the local bodies. What I say as a student of political science, that local bodies are the backbone of democracy. When you don't have strong local bodies, you can't expect a strengthened, consolidated type of democracy, a political system. That's very important. And, he has rightly, put his hand onto the pulse of the society. Second is the strong political parties. Again, key for real democracy are the strong, real political parties. So the environment now, the amendments actually, it's going to provide that particular environment, conducive environment, where the local bodies and the political parties, they can not only nourish, but they can develop and get strength. And obviously, that would contribute for the strong political institutions in Kazakhstan, and by the end of the day, a strong political system over there as well. Then another important development is that the president and head of the party, they cannot be the same person. Again, to bifurcate, to reduce the powers of the president, this step has been taken. Now, who is the president? He cannot have the portfolio of head of the political party. Checks and balances within the both houses of the parliament is another important feature that has been introduced. The Senate and the lower house, they can have kind of checks and balances like the American Constitution. There is checks and balances, but that is purely a presidential form of government there, where there is no prime minister. But here they have introduced the parliament in order to have a connectivity between president and the local people or the common people. Then already it has been described, particularly elections of the Hakims. Hakims, actually the mayors and the local, what we say, the Nazims and all those people. They were actually directly appointed by the president. But now this amendment has changed the system. It's the people now who will directly elect their Hakims. So again, this is an important development so far democracy is concerned. Second point is stability. For that, again, three important, steps have been taken. One is the strong president, not super president, strong president, right? Second is influential parliament. And third one is accountable government, which already, I think, the speakers have explained in detail that what steps and what amendments have already been taken in this particular regard. One thing that is important to understand is the strengthening of human rights in Kazakhstan. Although there is a negative propaganda by the West, they have their own parameters to check the human rights and democracies, all those things, although they are violating human rights and civil liberties across the whole world, but they have their own parameters. But one thing that is important so far, they have realized it, the Kazakh government has realized it, that, until and unless people are not satisfied with the judicial system, the development or the strengthening of the society or state cannot be achieved to that extent, which can be happened due to the satisfaction of the level of the people. So we have seen that they have established the constitutional courts even for the protection of human rights. This is an excellent step. Again, a role model for many countries in the world. Then the economic reforms, which have already been explained by our scholar from Kazakhstan. But one thing that needs to be understood is the diversification of economy, particularly if we talk about industrialization. Initially, obviously, they dependent on the natural resources, particularly the hydrocarbons. But over the period of time, when they charted out 2030 and 2050 strategy particularly, that actually is leading the country towards the status of the developed countries. We know that it has reached to the status of semi-periphery now. From periphery, it's into the semi-periphery. And by 2050, inshallah, they will be in the core. And we should take pride of this as well because of the regional country as well as our Muslim brothers. Then, the reforms, they should more focusing onto human rights, social institutions particularly, civil society and media freedoms, where again, expression of, freedom of expression is very important. It's very important. And we see that over the period of time, since last 5-6 years, this freedom has been given to all the people of Kazakhstan. They use this social media, you can connect with them, they discuss all these things with you. So this is again a very important step. Now, I would say, that if we come to the applied side of all these reforms, I would say that these political reforms, they would definitely complement the socio-economic development or reforms in the country. Because once you have political stability, you can go for economic development. You can go for social transformation. If you don't have political stability, then we know better what happens, so far economy and social developments are concerned. Now, these steps, all these steps, what I think would surely create national unity and harmony to prevent socio-political and class conflict in Kazakhstan. Because we know that in Kazakhstan, there is a substantial number of ethnic Russians who are living over there. So for the sake of, integration in the society, all these steps, they would complement. And it would also further boost, I would say, the regional and international standing of Kazakhstan. You see that Kazakhstan now is one of the most important countries with whom actually the developed countries want to have good relations. So all these steps obviously would bring confidence of the developed countries in Kazakhstan, and in return definitely it would bring more and more foreign direct investment into the country. By the end, I would say that it is the political stability, public participation and economic growth which will definitely put Kazakhstan on the way of development and participate in expanding regional energy, goods and services trade. And it can be a model for other regional countries as well. I thank you all.